Yoda's species doesn't actually have a name, as George Lucas and other Star Wars creators, including directors and writers, simply only referred to it as, again, Yoda's species. But for today's video, I wanted to discuss truly everything we know about Yoda's species in the Star Wars universe, where they might come from, what their powers in the Force are, why they're so powerful in the Force, and perhaps more. With that said, there will be spoilers for the first episode of The Mandalorian in this episode, so please, if you have not seen it, click off now. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into everything we know about Yoda's species. Just as one more bumper though, this video will be involving canon, and if we have time at the end, we'll discuss Legends continuity as well, or perhaps in a separate video. According to the Star Wars official databank, the species of Yoda is simply labeled as unknown. And all the way back in Empire Strikes Back, George Lucas said that his homeworld, Yoda's homeworld that is, was never set to be specified. And to this day, in fact, we do not know the homeworld name of Yoda's species, or really any true details about it. We do know a few things about Yoda's species though. One, they're extremely rare to appear in the galaxy, and to see one was a real treat. In addition to this, we also know that they're an ancient species and possibly one of the first species ever in the Star Wars galaxy. They've been around for a very long time and they're supposedly very few in number. In Star Wars canon so far, we know of 3 members of Yoda's species, one that recently appeared in The Mandalorian, Yoda himself, as well as a Jedi Master Yaddle, who also sat upon the Jedi Council with the Grand Master himself. Yaddle is the only female of the species, but again, it is confirmation that they do in fact have 2 sexes. In addition to this, we know that Yoda's species ages extremely slowly, with the 50-year-old specimen in The Mandalorian appearing around 1-year-old in human years. In Star Wars canon, every member of Yoda's species has again only been green in coloration, although in Legends continuity, they do actually have pale skin in some cases. Yoda's species only has 3 fingers with claws on the end of each one, as well as their ears being extremely expressive, showing the emotions of the individual. Thanks to Star Wars The Clone Wars, we also learned that in addition to a main brain, the Yoda species also has what is known as a sub-brain, and a brain that allowed them to access visions granted through the Force far more easily, leading me also to speculate that Yoda species had an extremely strong affinity with the light side of the Force, as again to our current knowledge, we've never seen a member of Yoda's species feel even a pull to the dark side, as Yoda himself, because of part in his long life, had no reason to turn to the dark side of the Force. When asked directly about Yoda's background, this is what the creator of Star Wars, George Lucas, had to say. He's a mysterious character. He's a magical character. He has no background. He comes and he goes. He's the subversive, secret, mysterious stranger that enters the film and to then exits the film at the end. In Star Wars canon, unfortunately, that is really everything that we know about Yoda's species. So now briefly, I'll go over what we learn about them in Legends, as their history is far more expansive. In Star Wars Legends, there was actually a mistake in the databank concerning Yoda's species, naming his species as Atlantic. In addition to this, also among the databank, the midichlorian count for Yoda was listed as 4 million, being exceptionally high. However, the species of Yoda has been confirmed to not be Atlantic, but to be a common mistake among those less informed in the Star Wars galaxy. Still in Star Wars Legends, the name of Yoda's home world or even his species remains unknown. Same in Legends continuity, despite there being far more members of Yoda's species, still every single one of them was in fact a Jedi, leading again to confirmation that they felt an extremely strong pull to the Force, but again specifically the light side of the Force. Also in Star Wars Legends, although we do not learn the exact details of Yoda's food, other life forms have described it as disgusting, but Yoda seemed to enjoy it a great deal, although we never truly learned what this food was. Also in Legends continuity, every member of Yoda's species, with the exception of a few, spoke a mysterious dialect, basically turning the normal language of Star Wars but reversing certain words. Again though, there were some members of Yoda's species that did not in fact talk this way, as some of them spoke normally. As far as how long they live in Legends continuity, we know that they mature much faster, with the 50-year-old member in Star Wars canon still being considered a baby, but in Legends continuity, they had close to matured at this age, being around a teenager. Both in canon as well as in Legends continuity, Yoda grew to be around 900 years old, dying of natural causes, giving us a pretty good indication of their lifespan. Although the light side of the Force has been known to bolster one's lifespan in the past before, so it could be that their lifespan is actually much shorter than this, but would still span centuries. As far as other members of Yoda species that were Jedi, we know of Jedi Master Yaddle as well as Vandor Takare, who too were both very powerful and notable Jedi Masters, with both sitting upon the Jedi Council. It should also be noted that although Yoda did not believe in secrets among the Jedi, he did have one. That being, despite being pressed several times, Yoda never divulged the location of his homeworld to the Jedi Council or to anybody else, and neither did any of the other members of Yoda's species that sat upon said council. The motivation behind this being is that Yoda's species is an extremely peaceful one, and he did not want to bring the wars and politics of the Republic to a planet that was ill prepared for them, no matter how powerful in the Force they may inherently be. As far as lesser known Jedi that were actually from Yoda's species, we know of two of them, one of which that served during the Cold War named Oteg, and the other being known as Minch. What is unique about the Jedi Knight known as Minch is despite the other members of Yoda's species being exceptionally calm in combat, Minch has been described as fiery, and out of all of the members that we know of in Star Wars Legends belonging to Yoda's species, Minch is believed to have the most affinity with the dark side of the Force, although again I want to make it clear that he too was also a Jedi. What is most well known about the Jedi Knight Minch is he actually defeated one of the most powerful Dark Jedi in single combat, not to mention that he managed to defeat said Dark Jedi within a dark side nexus, again denoting him as one of the most powerful members of the Jedi Order at that point in time, although Minch would never arrive to the rank of Jedi Master for unknown reasons. Again, another member of Yoda's species, Oteg, was one of the few Jedi Masters that actually helped to liberate the spirit of Darth Revan after he had passed from the physical world, and Oteg was renowned as one of the best battlefield tacticians among all of the Jedi, being perhaps among the most elite the Order had ever seen. Unfortunately though, we don't really get to see any moments of Oteg in a lightsaber duel, as again he was more prone to directing where other Jedi should go on the battlefield or in space combat. As far as outside information on Yoda's species, we do actually have quite a bit, with it being believed that George Lucas actually actively discouraged licensing from exploring Yoda's species, again hoping to keep it a complete mystery. In addition to this, there are actually cut lines from Revenge of the Sith that describe Yoda's species as Yoda's species, making that their official name among the Jedi, at least in Revenge of the Sith. There are actually occasions of George Lucas outright canceling certain parts of Star Wars projects that reveal more about Yoda's species and origin than he wanted, with one example being a trading card that depicted a group of Yoda's species worshipping an idol, being led in prayer by presumably Yoda himself. A trading card that George Lucas outright ordered never be released to the public, and something that had not been run across him beforehand, and being a vision of another artist and not the creator himself, who he admittedly doesn't know the full backstory of Yoda. In the Essential Guide to Characters, Yoda's homeworld was actually listed to the planet that he exiled himself to, Dagobah. However, again, at the discretion of George Lucas, newer Legends material actually states that Yoda was not born on Dagobah and that it is not the homeworld of his species. Many Star Wars fans have also speculated that Yoda could in fact be a member of the species known as the Will, or sort of the protectors and gatherers of the light side of the Force in all of the history of the Jedi Order. However, in an interview, George Lucas straight out stated that Yoda was not meant to be a Will, and that this was simply a fan theory. But that's pretty much all the information we have about Yoda's species in both Star Wars canon as well as Star Wars Legends. Just a brief summary. In Star Wars canon, as of The Mandalorian, we only know of 3 members of Yoda's species in all of Star Wars, and in Legends continuity, we only know of 5 or 6, every single member being a Jedi. Yoda also keeps a major secret from the Jedi Council, that being the location of his home world and even the name of his species. It is believed that every single member of Yoda's species is in fact Force sensitive, as well as George Lucas on several occasions outright denying to say anything about the origins of Yoda or his species as a whole, calling him the mysterious stranger that enters the story and then exits it, with it never being George Lucas's intention to ever reveal any true information about where Yoda comes from. But what are your guys' thoughts on this? And what are your thoughts on the Mandalorian actually choosing to explore various elements of Yoda's species and perhaps learn more about where he comes from? Do you guys agree with this decision or not? As always, if you guys enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you could hit that like button, as it helps the channel out a great deal. Also, if I missed any details about Yoda species, please leave it in the comments down below for others to read. Be sure to check out some awesome Star Wars hoodies using my link in the description down below, where you guys can get hoodies as low as $11. We also have other cool stuff like keychains and t-shirts, so be sure to check it out if you're a Star Wars fan. As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching. Your support means the world to me. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.